Welcome to the Maine Outdoor Enthusiast podcast. I'm Paul.
And I'm Mark.
So we're sitting at camp at the kitchen table, overlooking what Grandpa called Golden Pond.
Yeah, he did call it Golden. Yeah, you got a good memory.
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
I was going to say, you were just a little boy when you've been going for 31 years.
Week one of deer season's in the books.
Yeah.
Well, actually, today's Saturday.
Yeah. So this is the final day of the first week.
You should be hunting.
Yeah, I put in. Yeah, I put in a lot of time.
We had a late night last night.
Yeah.
Someone tagged out.
Yeah. Yeah. You shot a nice buck.
I did, and it was kind of a tumultuous week.
Yeah.
Kind of an emotional roller coaster, but it was an eventful week. We actually almost had 2 bucks.
Yeah, I had a chance. I needed 2 seconds, Paul.
Yeah.
I caught the buck in its bed, and I just needed 2 seconds I was bringing the gun up and knocking the safety off, and he bolted. Yeah. So 2 more seconds and I'd have had him. He was in the wide open.
So we'll just cover the whole week before we get into deer stories. It's like a pretty lengthy deer story. The opening day was warm, 70 degrees.
Yeah, boy.
It was weird too. It would be sunny
and then rain.
And rain.
Yeah.
And it was.
Yeah.
You couldn't go in a shirt because it would rain and pour, so you'd get soaked. But wearing a jacket, it was incredibly hot.
Right. Yeah. I didn't and you had a little video on it there. I didn't wear wool pants, which is
not normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was hunting in Carhartts for a change.
And we've gotten so much rain that it does keep things fresh.
Yeah.
Road's all muddy and cuts and whatnot were freshened up all the time. Yeah. And we found one area that had quite a bit of deer sign. Saw deer going back and forth, and I went down into the cut, and there was a couple nice sets of buck tracks going back and forth. You saw some scrapes.
Yep, up on the ridge.
So that day was pretty uneventful. You shot a partridge. That was about it.
Yeah, right at daylight, budding in the popple tree.
Couldn't pass it up.
I shot so few of them, Paul. I had to take advantage of the opportunity there. Only my 3rd bird all season.
3 for the season. That's all I am. It's 3.
Yeah, that's I usually get between probably 20 and 30 birds. So
then Monday rolls around. We get snow, about 3 to 4 inches.
Yeah, we
snowed
had
all day Monday.
3 to 4 inches, which. You were working, and I was up here hunting, and during and it started right at daylight too. So that was if it had started earlier in the evening or the morning, you have a chance of finding some tracks. But it's tough to find tracks up here during a storm.
Yeah, they got to be basically making them.
They got to be making them.
Seeing them stepping out of their tracks. So then Tuesday, snow stopped. Tuesday you had snow.
Yeah.
And you tracked them.
Yeah, I tracked a buck and 2 does.
2 does?
Yeah.
So 3.
Yeah, and caught them. Like I say, I caught all 3 of them in their bed. So they let me walk right up to them. And I think one of the reasons, and I didn't use it a lot, I probably, in the few hours that I was tracking them, I blew a grunt call maybe 4 or 5 times total.
All right.
But I think that the last time that I blew it before I caught them, they probably heard it. They knew I was coming. I mean, they could hear me. You're not going to walk up to a deer on a quiet day and
thought you were another deer.
Just thought I was another deer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I come around the corner, a little evergreen, and we were face to face. So, like I say, 2 seconds. If they held 2 more seconds, I'd have.
Yeah.
So
was it very big?
No, it wasn't big. No.
Right.
No. So nothing like the deer later on in the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I came in Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Pretty pumped to have snow. When I was driving in, all the snow was gone from the roads. It was pretty well back to the...
Yeah.
Well, any bank that was facing the south had no snow on it.
Right.
And then the cuts were starting to deteriorate as far as snow. They were getting really patchy. Woods had plenty of snow.
Yeah.
You get in the woods...
Especially up on the hardwoods and stuff. It was...
you get in the woods, you were good to go.
Yeah.
So Tuesday morning we get up, and we're going to go back into... We head in first to where we saw...
Yeah, quite a ways back in.
All the deer sign the warm day.
Yeah.
So we get way back in there, and just a couple small... There wasn't much going on.
Yeah.
So it took about an hour or two. I think it was like 8:30 when we were coming out of there. And so we went into basically kind of plan B, which is where I chased a bunch of deer last year and fired at a nice buck. And I planned on going in there this year anyway, just to check it out. They'd recently just cut that area.
Yeah, they cut it since last year.
Down into this brook that a lot of deer were hanging around last year.
Yeah.
So it's funny, on that day that it was warm, we didn't see much for sign through there. We didn't really get out in the cut.
No.
But we go back with snow, and towards the end of the road, there was all kinds of deer going back and forth.
Yeah.
There was one big set.
Yeah.
Where he had been going back and forth.
He was all through.
All through those cuts.
Yeah. Yeah. You just had the feeling that, man, if they weren't there now, boy, they sure were. And he was really going back and forth.
So you went up off to the right of the road, driving in, and I was going to go down to the end of the road, and I wasn't totally. I wanted to go into the left because I wanted to go down to that area where I shot the deer last year, and there was all kinds of sign. Plus, the wind would be in my face.
Right.
But I was looking, and it looked like there was a nice fresh set of buck tracks going to the right, and there was a patch of woods that he was going into, and it looked like the cut went all the way around that. So I was like, well, I'll just go along this cut. It's easier walking, and I'll see if I can pick him up on the other side. There was a bunch of deer going in and out of there. So I go around the back patch of this woods, and I see a buck in a doe track that was actually fresher in that track. I must not have saw him in the road. There was no snow in the road. So I'm going along the bank trying to pick this stuff up. So I'm like, well, they're going down into the place I want to go, and the wind's in my favor. It was a steady breeze right in my face.
Yeah.
Actually blowing pretty steady. And so we come back out to the road, and I cross the road, and then we come into this new cut. And you could see quite a ways in a lot of areas.
It was rough. It was slosh.
But
they'd left all the time. Oh, it was awful going.
Pain. It's a huge cut.
Yeah, it's a big cut.
And it's terrible to walk through.
A lot of times the cuts you'll see, they're pretty well cleaned up and they reseed. Yeah. This is one they're not going to reseed.
They just, all the tops.
Everything
is laying everywhere.
And there's trees that are cut, they just cut them and left them. Yeah. I see some big hemlock and stuff, Paul, that basically they just cut them and left them there. For whatever reason. I have no idea. But
so I'm making my way through this cut, and I'm thinking, I keep seeing a big set of buck tracks, going to the right, and I see one going to the left, and a couple times I was tempted. One time it looked fresher than what I was on, about the same age though. I mean, it wasn't anything, and I was kind of like, yeah, I kind of want to go that way, but I stayed right on that buck and the doe. They were going right into the wind, and I kind of wanted to go down in the corner. So I'm coming along, and I start to crest this knoll in the cut, and so there's a lot of deer sign now back in there. And I'm thinking, and I think it's on film, I said, God, I feel like I could just see a deer at any time. I really need to pay attention.
Yeah.
And of course, my shooting outfit isn't set up for long shots.
No.
And I'm kind of out in the middle of this cut, and I could see some spots quite a ways. And
you were saying maybe 400 yards in places?
Yeah.
You could 400 yards, yeah.
So I was like, well, I'll reposition my pack and have a little snack. It was like 10 o'clock at the time. Maybe a little bit, 10:30. And so I sit down on the stump, and I pull my pack out, and I'm just eating a power bar. I'm eating a protein bar, and something catches my eye off to the left. I get the sun on my back, wind's in my face, and it was rack.
Yeah.
I see antlers move, and it's a naked eye it was probably around 300 yards.
Yeah.
It was way down in the corner of this cut, and I'm like, geez, there's a buck. So I'm looking, I'm like, holy frig, I can't shoot from here. There's all kinds of little whips, and there's trees down, and
it's a mess in there. It's a war zone.
The limbs are sticking up. Yeah. I'm like, I am not gonna get a bullet from here down into there.
Yeah.
Then I look, and I can see two does over to the left. And it's funny, if you've ever been in a cut, and you see deer in a cut, especially if they're a long ways away, it's almost like they can vanish.
They do. They go in and out of view all the time. Continuously.
I would look away from the buck, and it would take me a few minutes, even with a scope. I'd pull the scope out, and he would have to do something, move his tail, or do something to see him again. Right. And the same thing with does. They just were kind of all feeding, coming along. Pretty soon I'd see 2 here, and then wouldn't be able to see him. Yeah. And then I'd see 1 over here. So at the time I thought there was 3 doe and the buck. And so I spent pretty darn close to an hour
watching them,
trying to find
a steady rest,
a position that I could get into, that I had a steady rest, and had nothing in between me and the deer. And I'm not really looking at the rack a lot. I just knew it was a decent buck.
Right.
But I wasn't. I was trying to find a spot to get in position to shoot. So I was thinking, geez, can I get closer? Can I get? There were some stumps down below me, but I'm looking, and there were some big trees down in front of those, and I'm like, okay, I'll be going down, and I'll have more stuff in front of me.
So when they probably didn't move very far in that hour?
Nope,
were they moving towards you, away from you?
Kind of. He actually went to my left, and then he
away from the mature woods. Okay. So
it was because the cut kind of went up that way, so they were staying along the edge of the cut.
Yeah.
But he came to the left, and then I see him coming back to the right, but he's just feeding.
Yeah.
And that's one thing about like the first week of November. If you have snow, it's a good chance to catch up to a buck.
Yeah, he's not going to go he's not on his mission.
They're not moving. And so he was just feeding with those does. So finally, I think it was, you said it was 11:30?
I think I get back. I estimated, Paul, after you fired, and I was right beside you. I didn't know it was you. Yeah. You were just over the knoll from where I was. I was in the same cut. And I got back to
You'd come across the road.
Yes.
Yeah.
So into where you shot the deer.
What prompted you to come over there?
That's where I originally intended to go.
All right.
So I thought, well, stick with your... I went down, and the reason I went to the opposite direction, there was some traction there. I wanted to go just check it out. And I went in, checked it out. I was there a few minutes, and an hour or so, and then come back across. And you fired 3 shots. And like I say, I had no idea it was you. I assumed it was you, but then again, there were things that made me think it may not be you. Yeah. You were supposed to be on the other side, and the shots
were a little spaced out.
Yeah, you get a semi-auto, and usually your shots are pretty quick together, and these were timed out like somebody was either working
running
a bolt or
really aiming.
And that's what it was. So I get back to the vehicle at 11:50 something. It was almost noon, so. Right. I figured it was a half an hour. I stood there for 10 minutes after you shot just to see if anything would come up my way, because you were right there.
Yeah.
You were right there. So
I finally, there was a stump that I had a pretty good view of the buck, and he was actually just behind a little bit of slash at this point in time. And I remember I moved over, there was a maple tree beside me, and I tried to stand up and get a rest on the maple tree. But it was windy, and that maple tree at that distance, I used a 5-power scope, 1.5 to 5, and he's still quite small in the scope at 300 yards. And any little movement from the wind just was too much of threw me off. So I grabbed, actually, Big Woods Bucks dull pack, and set it up on the stump.
Yeah,
which got me up just another couple inches.
A little higher.
And then I got on that, and I had a spot with no whippets or anything. And I was sitting there watching him, and I was just trying to get myself to relax, take a deep breath, and I really wanted to make it count.
Yeah.
And so he's just kind of making his way to the right. And I put it right on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And slowly squeeze the trigger. And then he disappears.
Yeah.
When the gun goes off.
And you think it was around 300 yards that you...
Yeah, it was...
Yeah.
It was a long shot. I'll pace it off this week. But
I don't know how you could pace anything off in that mess.
It'd be a lot of work.
Yeah. If you had a rangefinder...
That's why it took so long to find the deer. So
pacing things off. And, I mean, you can't walk in a straight line.
No. So I could use Onyx, I guess.
Yeah.
And do it that way. So he disappears. And then I see some does take off this way. Like the woods come alive.
Yeah.
I see deer jumping everywhere. And then pretty soon, so I'm quite certain, like he disappears, he fell down. And I see his head fling back. I see Rat go back, and he gets back up, or he's trying to get his legs under him. I fired again. And then I don't see him. And then it was down further in the cut, and I fired a third time. And that was, I don't know where he went. So I'm thinking, I thought for sure he was down. I'm like, that's it. It's over. It took him too long to get from shot 1 to shot 3.
Yeah.
So something's going on. So at that point, I think there was like 6 doe.
Yeah.
That there's 3 that I couldn't see. And as I make my way down, they actually didn't really jump all that hard.
Right.
There was 2 that ran off really hard, but the other few that were down there, they just kind of tucked their tails and just kind of nervously walked into the woods, and they were gone. So I get down there, and I'm thinking, no, he's going to be right here. And I get down there, and there's no buck. And I'm trying to figure out where your whole depth perception gets off, too.
Yeah, oh yeah, you can't, you get down there, and of course everything changes.
And there's deer tracks everywhere. They've been through there.
Yeah, I've been through that situation many times, Paul.
So I'm looking, I had a stump marked mentally in my head when I fired. And I get down there, and I'm looking, I'm like, well, there's all kinds of stumps, like the one I was looking at back there. So pretty soon I look over to my left. I'm looking back up towards where I shot now. And I look over to my left, and I can see a strip of blood in the snow. So I'm like, all right, we got blood. So I immediately go over there, and there's an old road that cut follows coming down in there. Terrible to walk on because it's all just
it's an old, it's all grown up
and stuff like that.
Yeah,
he took off up that road, used that road to get out of there, and there's a heck of a blood trail, and there's blood spraying out his left side. So as I'm tracking him, I'm thinking, okay, he was broadside to me. I was shooting at his right side.
So you had a pass.
I've got a bunch of blood on his left side.
Yeah.
And it's just spraying.
Yeah.
And underneath him, there's
dripping
blood. Yeah. And it's just a constant. I mean, you saw it the
blood,
couple days later. It was just a path of blood. Yeah. So I'm thinking, 100 yards at most, he'll be down. Right. Maybe I have to put
another
one
in him to finish him off.
He'll be down.
Yeah.
So I'd left my pack on that stump in the meantime when I went down there because I thought the deer was down there. And then, so I'm like, I got to find my pack. We're going by it here, pretty close. Pretty soon the buck's track veer right down a skid trail, goes right by my pack.
Yeah.
Like from me to the camera away.
Yeah.
I'm like, if I would have stayed right at that stump for 15 minutes, he would have run right by me and I could have shot him again right there in the cut. So I grab my pack, get that on, and then so we continue through the cut. Now we go. Now he's got the wind in his favor. Wind's coming off my back.
Yeah.
Right towards him.
Yeah.
He goes and he beds down in the corner of that cut. And I just crest the knoll, and I'm coming down, and then I see his bed. And he'd bedded down and get up out of it. And took off running. So I jumped him up. He'd smelled me coming. And it was right full of blood.
Yeah.
And you saw the bed.
Yeah, I saw. I went down into a couple of beds, and they were
probably a spot like that on the left side. Yeah. Whole left leg. And I'm like, oh my word, this is a done deal.
Yeah.
So I think I hung out there for like 30. I'm like, I'll give him a little bit of time. Now, granted, I got to work the next day.
Yeah.
And so I can't be all day.
Right.
I got to be able to get the deer out.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I have snow, and he's hit hard. It'd be one quick shot.
Yeah.
And game over. We'll get him out. So I give him a little bit of time, and then he was down into a brook, and I think he just on the other side of the brook, or just before the brook, I forget now. Bedded down in those mature woods. You saw that bed.
Yeah.
Same thing. Right full of blood.
Yeah.
And when he would go to get up out of it, it would just spray blood out the side. You'd see a big splotch of blood in the snow, and then like a mist of sprayed blood. So I'm like, I at least got one lung.
Yeah.
So I'm like, son of a gun, he's still going.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll hang out here for a little bit, give him some more time.
Yeah.
And I forget, at this time, I think it's like 2 o'clock. Maybe 1:30. So I stayed there for quite a bit. I didn't really time how long. And I go just a few feet. And again, I still have good blood coming out of that bed. And I hear something. I'm in like mature woods, and off to my left is a little opening with raspberry bushes, and the leaves are still on the raspberry bushes. I hear something coming towards me, and I look over my shoulder. There's a freaking black bear, literally like 10 feet away from me, coming through the raspberries. And I just see the top of the head, little round ears.
And I saw his tracks.
And his back.
The next day I went in and saw his tracks.
And I pulled up my gun, I hollered at him. I was like, get out of here. And he didn't really run. He just kind of scooted off into the woods. But I'm like, geez, did he smell the deer? Let him up. But the wind was still...
Because they're a very shy creature. I mean, they're very aware.
And you said, you're like, why didn't you shoot it? You can... But I'm like, I already have one deer. That
you get enough problems.
I don't want to be two animals down in the woods. So I continue on the buck, and same thing happens again. We come to another bed, and I'm like, I keep jumping this deer up, and I'm like, my gosh, I got to let him settle down and expire. So at this point, I'm like, well, we'd gone on the opposite side of the road now, where you originally went in that morning.
Right.
And where I originally went in. So we'd actually crossed the dead end portion of that road. And so we're basically kind of doing a big loop. I'm like, well, he's headed back out towards the road. I'll just continue on this way. And when I hit that cut, I'm going to get out to the road. And I'll call. I had to work the next morning. And I was like, I'll call into work and see if someone can cover me that morning until like 11 o'clock. We can come back and get the deer. So I'm headed out that way. And I come to another spot where it looked like, it was hard to tell because there was bear tracks too in this spot. And he got on some bear tracks, and it looked like he face planted, like where he drove his chest in. I couldn't tell if it wasn't a place where he would bed down,
right?
But it kind of looked like he had bedded, but I deduced his chest hit the ground when he was going through some thick stuff. He wasn't jumping over anything. He would not go over a blowdown. If he did go over a little blowdown, he didn't pick up his feet over him at all.
He drug him.
And so I'm like, it looks like he took a digger right here. So we come into, there's a little beaver flowage that I think you went right down to. Like swale grass and stuff.
That's where I walked in that morning, right there.
All right.
I see where you come out of that.
So the sun's at my back now, and the wind is, I think we're going back, the wind's in my face.
And you made a big U.
And I'm coming to this opening, and I'm thinking, boys, over across that opening would be a good spot to catch them. I'm like, because they like to get through an opening. Put something in between you and whatever's following them, and then watch and see what's going on, because he knows I've been coming behind him. So I'm looking, and you can't see him there because the sun is hitting those trees. And all I saw was like a wall of cedar trees. And it was just very dark. But beyond it, I could see the edge of the cut. So it was all bright beyond it. So I'm like, well, I don't see anything. And the minute I stepped out into that opening, I see a deer going up through the... I'm like, geez, I'm crow. So he heads out. He's headed towards that cut. And I sprint. I just go right across the beaver bog. Water's flying everywhere. And I went right straight up because I'm like, I can catch him out in that cut. And so I run up the bank, and I get up to the cut, and I'm looking. And he had made it probably 150, 200 yards. And he's just going across the skid trail. And I'm out of breath. And I pull up, and I fire twice. And I don't think I hit him. And I told you earlier in the day, I get some service. And I sent you a message and said, my pickup's parked on the road we drove in on. Stay in the pickup or circle him back towards the road. So I fire twice at him. I go up there, and I can still see blood. But now the clear cuts have lost a lot of the snow throughout the day. It was close to 40, sunny. And that is just patchy in those cuts. Made it really hard to... His track was through those cuts everywhere. And if you couldn't see blood, it was hard to
know which
figure
one
out which was which in an efficient manner. You really had to take your time.
And when the snow's melting, the tracks change so fast. In an hour they change a lot.
So then I hear my truck start up. And the road is right there.
Yeah.
So the buck had come back out to the road we came in on.
Yeah.
And you had gone out around the corner, gone way up on the road.
To get cell service.
Up on a knoll.
Yeah.
How many yards do you think you could see down that?
I'm thinking half a mile.
Or, yeah.
Half a mile.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a long way. It was a long way.
So you were sitting in the truck.
Yeah.
And you see a figure walking.
And I thought it was you, way down at the end of the road. And I thought, well, Paul's coming up the road. And I was, like I say, I was way half a mile up the road. And it walked right through. There were beams of light in certain, the sun was setting at that time, getting low in the sky. But there were certain places the sun was coming through an opening in the trees and shining on the road. And that went right through there. And I thought it was you walking up to the truck. And then coming right towards my vehicle, and then it went into the right-hand side, into the cut that you originally shot the deer in. But I still thought it was you, so I drove down there, and that's when you come out of the woods.
Yeah. And that was
and
on
I
the
said, wow, that had to be the deer that I saw walking up the road. You know, it was just brown to me, so even blaze orange at a half a mile, that the sun is setting, you know.
Yeah.
I could just tell it was wasn't a moose, it wasn't black. And so he went into that original cut.
He basically did a big loop.
But he walked down the road quite a ways.
Yeah. And you weren't sure how far. Because it was so hard.
It was way, way up the road.
Yeah, and looking at where you were on the knoll.
Yeah.
Just seeing a deer.
Yeah.
Would be a tough task.
Yeah. I've been up there and I've looked at that a number of times since, Paul, and I'm looking down there and going, well, I don't even know how I saw a deer that far, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why I couldn't even tell. I just knew it was an animal about the size of a human.
Yeah.
I thought it was you originally.
So we called it a night.
Yeah.
And I figured he's going to be dead somewhere's down and around where I shot him.
So you took Thursday morning off.
Thursday morning. So we go right in there. And what we started doing was you said that deer went into the woods there. We were trying to pick up his track.
Right.
In those woods.
Right.
And
we couldn't do it.
Couldn't find where he went in.
Nope.
And whether he went in through a section of the cut that had no snow.
Yeah.
I don't know. And so then we wasted a couple hours anyway that morning doing that. And so nothing there. So then we figured, well, he went into that, quite certain he went into that cut. I'll walk the perimeter of that cut.
We're assuming that was the same deer. At one point, I thought, well, maybe it was a different deer. Yeah. Maybe it was a different deer, but...
And it could have been.
But, well, hindsight now, we found the deer where that was headed.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming
but he could have gone straight across the road.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm assuming that was the... I'm going to assume that was the deer that you shot.
So I'm thinking... So I'd gone... So I've never seen anything like this. We went... Well, probably almost 5 hours the day before.
Yeah.
He went with a bullet hole completely through him.
Yeah.
At least one lung taken out.
Yeah.
Cleaning him out, one lung was completely destroyed.
Yeah.
His diaphragm was completely destroyed. Yeah. And there was a blood trail. That was the best blood trail I've ever had on a deer, other than one buck that I'd shot that bled like a stuck pig, but he was dead in 50 yards.
It just speaks to how tough
those
animals are.
I kept saying to myself, going, how much more blood does he have to lose? Obviously, he's a big deer.
Yeah.
So obviously he had a...
When I saw that exit hole on the left-hand side, it looks like it's coming right through the middle of the chest. And it's like, how did that deer go that far?
Yeah.
With a bullet through the middle
the first couple hours I was on him, he could make some big bounds.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking, this isn't adding up. He's making some big bounds, but he's got blood spraying out the side. And every time he'd get up out of his bed, I don't know if he was trying to blow or what he was doing, but every time he would increase his intra-abdominal pressure, you would see a great big bunch of blood and stuff sprayed out in the snow. And I'm assuming he was either trying to blow, and it was just blowing out the side of him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just kept saying all that afternoon, like, how am I not seeing this deer?
Catching that deer.
You know, you hear so many stories that guys just talking to the other day, they shot a buck Monday, hit it in the leg.
Yeah.
And it went 50 yards and bedded down. He went up, shot it in its bed.
Yeah.
Sat there and looked at him.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't mortally wounded. You had a buck do the same thing.
Yeah, I've actually
graze across the neck.
Actually, at least 2 that I just superficial wounds and just grazed them. Both of them the neck. I just grazed their neck.
Bed down
and I didn't hit any arteries. I just a flesh wound, and they went and bedded down.
He would not let me get anywhere near him. He would smell me long before I could get close enough to get a shot at him. And not until we get to that cut. And even then, he was still. He'd put some distance in between us. So so I think he went somewhere around 5 hours.
Yeah, he went all day long. Yeah.
So the next day when I'm
from
going on this cut,
11:30 until the end of the day,
there's no snow in the cut really, and it's slashed and stuff everywhere. So I'm thinking my best bet to pick up his track if he went into the cut. I'm assuming he went out of the cut.
Yeah.
He made it across the cut. And it's a big cut. So I go around through the woods, great snow in there, around the whole perimeter of the cut. And I get back out to the road and I'm like, there's no deer tracks coming out. He's not coming out of there.
Yeah.
So we went and checked a couple other areas just to make sure we isolated that area. And I think when that day was over, we pretty well deduced he had to be dead in that cut. Someplace. So I had to work that afternoon and the next day. So I hadn't slept for 2 nights. Come Friday morning.
Yeah.
So, because I know it's in that cut someplace, but it's such a mess. So hard to find it and to go in it.
Yeah.
So one good thing is always look for ravens.
Yeah.
And stuff that.
That's what I did. Actually, both Thursday and Friday, I went back in Friday morning, and it was funny. There was ravens way overhead, and they were really making a lot of noise. And I'm going, But they didn't look like they were going down into any particular spot. But so I headed down into where I thought you had originally shot the deer, down in that, which was yesterday morning. And I got down in there, and I could hear ravens. And I started, and it was in the general direction I was walking. I was headed right towards it. And I'm headed down towards the wood line, going downhill in that cut. And about 8 or 10 ravens come up from the ground. Well, I knew right there. It's a dead animal. Yeah. And what are the chances it's anything but your deer? Yeah. And so I headed right down. I took a mark. There was a dead snag, standing snag. And I said, I'll head right to that. That's where I think they... and I got about, 100 feet from where... And I see rack sticking up. And I mean a nice rack. And I'm going, wow, that's a nice buck. That's a big buck. I get down there, and sure enough, he's laying there. And he didn't bed. He died walking. The way you saw him laying there, I didn't move him. Yeah, he died walking. Yeah. He just fell over.
And that was it.
And unfortunately, the ravens helped me. Or helped us. They gave the location of the deer away, but they'd taken their fair share of the prize. So
the deer's the biggest body deer I've ever seen.
It was a huge buck
in my life. I've never seen a deer that big. In
everything on him was big,
and
antlers, the whole 9 yards. Yeah. He was
so
a big
first
buck.
thing. So Dad calls me. I'm at work, and he goes, "I found your buck. The good news is you probably need to call your taxidermist."
Yeah.
He goes, the bad news is the hindquarters are...
They ate the whole hindquarters.
Yeah. So the deer has basically no hindquarters. About 1.5 feet of the deer on the back.
Yep. From the knee
it's a shame
to 1.5 feet above the spine, the tailbone is gone.
Yeah. So, beautiful. 11 points. 10.
10. I don't know if that little kicker is an inch long, but a solid 10-pointer and
super wide.
Yeah, I think it's right around 140, Paul. I'm not a
scoring wise.
Yeah, I think he's right. He'll be close to mastic.
Yeah, you said
close to mastic.
22 inches outside?
22 inches. I took a tape measure down.
What was the inside?
19 and a half on the inside, 22 on the outside.
Good
mass.
A lot of mass.
Good mass.
Yeah, just
not real long. About the longest tine is only 6 inches, Paul.
Yeah.
But they're all good,
Thick. Yeah. But body-wise, there's something for me too. Whenever I see a big deer, it always strikes a chord with me. Big deer. There's something about their back legs.
Yeah.
That whenever I see a picture someone posts online or whatever, for some reason there's something about the back, and I don't know specifically what it is that triggers me to be like, oh, that's a really big deer.
Yeah, he's a big deer.
But when you look at the legs and length on him,
yeah,
and if you want to shoot a heavy deer, this is the time of year to do it.
Oh yeah,
this is the fattest he's.
He is a long deer.
The biggest he's gonna be.
Yeah, he is long.
Yeah.
And he's missing a foot on the back end of him.
And he's dragging on the ground off the game pole.
Yeah, he is a long deer, and yeah.
So we get back to camp. We drug him out anyway.
Last night.
We got him out at 8:00.
Yeah.
To the road. Coyotes were going.
Oh, they were howling. Yeah, we're lucky they didn't find him. They wouldn't have left.
Oh my word!
They wouldn't have left.
No, would have been gone, all gone.
Yeah.
And that was another thing with that bear being. That concerned me because I'm like, if the deer ends up in that end of the woods, that bear went all through there. I got to assume that bear
we'll find him.
Would take care of that in no time.
Yeah.
So get the deer out last night. It was late night last night. We get to bed about midnight, and that's not typical for you.
Nope. 8:00, 9:00 in that area.
So we weighed the deer. So with no hindquarters and everything out of it, it was 210 pounds.
Yeah.
So we're thinking probably 250.
Yeah, that would be conservative. Anyway, if you told me it went over 250, I would not be surprised. That's a big deer.
It's a big friggin' deer, and
there's a lot of meat going out of the back end of that.
Oh my God, yeah, it's hard to stomach that, but
yeah,
glad we recovered it.
Yeah,
we got it. I hate to see something go to waste, especially a big deer that's lived 5.5 years or whatever.
Yeah, we don't know how old, but he's as good a buck as you could ever hope to get.
So probably the largest. We'll never know what his actual weight is.
No.
So probably the largest body deer I've ever shot.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No question about that. Yeah, it's not even that's
gonna kind of haunt me. I want to know how much he would have weighed.
Yeah.
Without.
Don't let it haunt you because we'll never know.
No,
we just know that
beautiful buck.
We just know that it was huge and that was a big deer.
So I'm quite certain that's the deer that I shot at the end of last year.
Yeah, you shot at one in that same area
and missed.
Yeah, a mature buck.
Yeah, and the
one that bailed in the lake on you.
Yeah, well, he was a tough old bugger. Yeah. My God.
That's how we survived
Holy
that long.
Smokes.
You don't make too many mistakes,
I kept thinking when I was chasing him, I'm like, what in the heck? How is he still going? Yeah. And I'm like, he's doing everything right.
Yeah.
And
even in dying, he was in the back end of a terrible cut. He was safe, and you were just so far away, he didn't know you were there. I mean, he didn't make any mistakes in that regard in getting shot. It was just that, just you were in the right place at the right time.
Had the wind in my favor.
He never saw it coming.
No. Yeah, that was a long ways down on that cut. Yeah. And they were kind of down in the valley. They were basically 2 steps from getting out of there if something came. So it ended up working out good. Yeah. I had a couple days of like, oh man. Yeah,
and you had mentioned, Paul, about snow being a game changer, but it is.
It is just like that.
It is up here. I always likened deer hunting up here, and where we deer hunt to a needle in a haystack, because we can cover tens and tens of miles looking for a place where there's a deer.
Oh yeah.
And they may be here today and gone tomorrow.
Yeah.
But snow, you take that needle and you eliminate a lot of the haystack.
Yeah.
So now you've got a little pile of hay to look in instead of it, and it just.
And then to find a big
changes things for you.
Then to find a big buck on top.
There's a lot of miles between bucks like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think you're going to find many.
No.
Anywhere.
No, but just let's say a 200-pound buck. There's a lot of country between those up here.
Yeah.
They're not on every ridge up here. That and like I say, from where we first started hunting in the morning to where you ended up shooting that, we were a long way away.
Oh,
There's a lot of territory there.
So just going on, so last year's knowledge, I love hunting places that, when I find deer when there's snow, and we come into the following season without snow, you learn a lot tracking a deer.
Oh yeah, you do.
So that area that I shot that buck in, I tracked a buck. I probably was the same buck last year. I tracked, I want to say 3 days, I tracked a nice buck through there. Kind of kept doing the same thing.
It was the same block of woods.
That seems to be a commonality with a lot of the bucks that I've shot. They kind of have little loops that they'll do, checking does or whatever and stuff like that. Obviously, if the does move, that's going to change. But like I got to kind of know that section of woods pretty well, and that where a lot of deer were hanging out in there.
Yeah.
And those deer, actually, all those does in that buck where they were feeding, it was right next to the brook, where last year I'd come into a whole pile of deer sign, and it wasn't caught last year.
Yeah.
So they basically were in the same place. So that was. I wish the whole deer was there.
Yeah, he was.
But still, for him to go 210.
Yeah.
With
the first in November, they're like you say, they're in the best shape they're ever going to be in. He is as fat and happy as he's ever going to be, and if you can knock down a big deer, then it's going to weigh up.
Yeah, that's your best.
Good
chance.
as it's ever going to weigh.
That's your best chance to get over 200.
Yeah, yeah.
And then way up there, those big. You shot one that was 240 Thanksgiving week.
And it hung a week before I weighed it.
Yeah.
I weighed it Sunday after Thanksgiving, and that was a big deer.
Yeah.
He's right on the wall behind us here.
Yeah.
So that.
Where'd you think the body of that one looked compared to?
Similar.
Similar?
It was similar. That was it was just a big frame deer. If you see me holding the head up, I'm standing. Most of the deer I'm standing up holding the head, and most of the deer is just the neck and stuff is off the ground, and that was a big deer.
When we were loading this one onto the truck, I just kept looking at the hooves. They looked like moose hooves.
Yeah.
Especially his back ones.
Yeah.
They just, I'm like, that's a big freaking deer.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So, that was a good way to start.
So it's all over for you.
Yeah.
Now I'm left to fend for myself.
Now I'm cameraman now.
Yeah, well, we'll see. You're a family man now.
I'm cameraman. Yeah. I'm always family man.
Yeah, I think Lacey is going to have a lot to say with where you spend your days off now.
We gotta find you a big.
Yeah, that would be nice, but
Even
I'm not
bigger.
very fussy.
No, you're not.
I'm not very fussy. I like the meat. And
it's funny that day that you'd said to me, you're like, how did you watch that for an hour and not?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I didn't know it was that big, 300 yards.
Yeah. Yeah. Plus, you don't want to just throw lead. You want to make it.
No.
You're going to get one good chance, so it's best to find and that's how long it took you to find the best situation to make the shot.
I made a decision. I'm like, he's either just going to walk off. I'm not just going to
throw lead.
Take a Hail Mary at him.
Yeah.
He's either going to walk off or I'm going to find a spot that
you're comfortable with.
Really, and I was rock
solid.
My biggest concern was any like whippets that I couldn't see.
Right.
Because if you're shooting 300 yards, you start going through little hardwood whips.
Right. You think you can see the deer real well, but there's plenty of stuff
looking through the scope
between you and him because you and he are not very high off the ground.
Yeah.
And it's a mess in there. It's a mess. It's hard to walk through there, let alone drag a buck through there at 8 o'clock at night.
And the thing is, with cuts like that, you got skitter ruts. You've got all these little architectural pieces of the cut.
Yeah.
And those does, you'd see them 1 minute, and the next minute they're behind
They're gone.
a lump of dirt.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And then,
yeah.
Boom, they're there.
Yeah.
And another thing in the whole fiasco, when I'm shooting, there's does and stuff running everywhere. And I'm like, I don't want to hit a doe in the mix of this.
Right.
Because they were just coming out of the
woodwork.
The woods just started moving down there.
Yeah.
So that was probably another reason for the delay in the firing. I'm trying to
identify the buck.
Make sure I don't hit. That's all I needed was have a doe down.
Yeah.
But that ended up being a good day, but took a while to recover it.
Yeah, we had our doubts there after Thursday.
Didn't give up.
And I said, I got to go back and take another look. I got to go in and take another look.
Yeah.
And the Raven Patrol, they call it, and it worked.
Yeah. But
I don't know if it had died in the woods, Paul, in the mature woods, if the ravens would have found it. In the opening like that,
it's easier. Yeah, you're right.
It's easier. I don't know. We were very fortunate that he died in the opening. Like I say, you kind of curse the ravens for eating your deer, but then again, they're the reason
we found it. Yeah. So my plan was I was going to go to that cot, and it was going to be a pain, but I was going to basically walk that cot
today,
back and forth.
Today,
back and forth. I was going to cover every inch of that ground because I'm like, I'm 99.9% certain he's dead in that cot someplace. Yeah. He didn't come out of it. We had good snow all the way around.
Yeah.
He didn't come out of it.
Although the snow left yesterday.
It
was in the mid-40s yesterday, and the snow was pretty much gone the end of the day.
Today I wouldn't have needed snow. I was just going to... Yeah. And that would have been...
You'd have found it today.
Terrible.
Because you'd have seen the crows.
Yeah. Yeah.
You'd have seen
it would have been
the ravens
in bad shape.
Yeah. It'd have been worse.
That would have been
And the coyotes may have found it by then, and they wouldn't have left anything, because right when we were dragging your deer out last night, there was coyotes howling everywhere.
Yeah.
And they would have eaten a lot more than those ravens would have.
And here we are dragging on a deer through the woods.
They're nipping at our heels.
No guns.
No, and they're nipping at our heels. Yeah, they lit up something fierce there.
Beat them off with a stick.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a good year so far.
Yeah, excellent year.
Yep.
Yeah. One weekend, I'm all wore out.
I'm gonna have
I put a lot of miles on.
I didn't sleep basically for 2 nights.
Yeah.
And then last night we get in midnight.
So we had breakfast for supper.
We didn't have much of a plan for supper.
10:30, I think it was. We had breakfast for supper.
Yeah.
After we get back here and hung the deer up.
The deer up, cleaned it off.
We had breakfast. We had bacon and eggs and homemade brown bread. Yeah. Narda's homemade brown bread for supper.
Felt good. You were, I think, so tired that you weren't tired anymore.
I got my second wind. I was ready to go there. I was tired there at some point going in to get the deer, but after 10:30, I felt great.
Yeah, you got to thank Doug for the Pelican plastic sled too.
Yeah,
that thing.
Did you poke any holes in it?
Nope.
So all good,
nope.
Excellent.
I texted him last night. Said
it's worth its weight then.
He goes, break it in for me.
Oh, we did.
And so I texted him last night. Said I'll buy you a new sled. I said I'll keep this one, and I need one anyway. And he's like, what'd you do? Break it? Because I was joking. I was like, I can break anything that's not mine.
Yeah.
And I said, no. I said, it worked great. He said, it's got a few scratches on it. He's like, well, that's what it's for. That's why I bought it.
Yeah.
I said, I hate giving something back that's in worse shape than I got it.
Yeah.
So it's good to know people that own like 2 of everything.
Yeah, it is.
And he owns...
Yeah, I'm not that person.
He owns like 2 of it. You need anything?
Yeah.
That guy's got it.
Yeah.
So it worked good. It would have worked a lot better if there was some snow.
Yeah.
Holy frick.
Yeah, dragging that, and we found that out, going through blowdowns, and there's plenty of, up here, you're always dealing with blowdowns.
Once you hit...
But we dealt a lot with mud and dirt. And
my wool pants are drying back there over the stove. And
it did not pull easy on, and I wasn't a whole lot of help to you there. I pulled where I thought I needed to.
And that rope that comes on them isn't very good. I got
a wider rope.
You know what?
A thicker rope.
Oh, a nice wooden handle on that.
Yes.
With rope on each side.
Yes.
Yes. Fantastic.
Yeah.
I got blisters on my hands.
I noticed that, Paul. That little thin rope pulling that. You're putting a lot of it digging into your hands. Yeah. That's not a good. They can improve that for sure.
Yeah. So I was going with no gloves at first, and then I had a pair of Stagger wool gloves.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, they're brand new.
Yeah, you put some miles on
and I thought to him, I was like, these are going to be shredded apart by the time. They're fine. Yeah. They held up. I'm sure.
Kudos to Stagger.
Yeah, because I abused the heck out of them. Dragging on that little tiny nylon rope.
Yeah.
I thought, I was like, these will be shredded to pieces by the time I get back out. But no, they don't even look like
I'm
because
glad
they're not a work glove.
I'm glad for you, Paul. You look forward to it all year, and
but now it's over.
Yeah,
but we got to get you a deer.
You did end it a little early, but that's all right.
That's not a deer you pass up.
Oh, nobody would pass that deer up, Paul.
If you did, you're stupid.
Yeah, nobody would pass that deer up.
Yeah,
that's a once in a lifetime buck.
Yeah,
you're not going to get many in that 250-pound range very often.
And of course, we're taking some privileges with the 250-pound mark.
But it's a big deer.
If you look at enough deer, it's
got everything.
Like, it's not like any deer that I've.
It's long and
I've shot some big deer, and I don't recall any of them having the frame on them like that. That just
he's long and
it almost looked not real.
Yeah,
distorted.
Well, I grabbed a hold of him there when I first found him, and I just pulled and holy frig! And I told you then. You know, Paul, with as much gone off in this deer...
You said he's still over 200.
I think he's over 200 pounds right now, dressed out. I said, with as much gone as... And he was.
Yeah, 210.
Yeah, that's...
And there's literally no hind.
No hind end.
The hide is there.
So you go from where the tail starts, on the base of the backbone.
You go about a foot.
You go to foot up, all the way down to his knees, all the way up to that foot mark is gone.
It's gone.
It's eaten. The hindquarters are gone. You're not getting anything off those hindquarters.
Nope.
And I don't know how much that would weigh on a deer like that, but I got to think it'd be quite a bit.
Well, I know when we're cutting up a deer, of course this includes
you
bone
throw a
and
hind
everything.
quarter.
When you quarter it up, and I have a hold of hind quarter, just one side, that's a heavy chunk of meat.
Hanging up, it doesn't look that bad, but you're looking at just the hide.
Right.
It's scraped right out on the inside.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks, but there's nothing there underneath the hide. It's gone.
Somewhat normal, but
yeah. So I got to believe you could easily get 40 pounds of meat, maybe more.
Yeah, that's
off in that deer.
Yeah,
and I hope that whatever's there is salvageable, Paul. And as far as
I was talking to Brittany about it last night. My sister's a physician, and we were talking about some anatomical stuff that goes on with that. So the night she was like, she would try it.
Yeah,
she was.
You'll know. You'll know by the smell, and you start cooking.
It may not smell either.
Okay.
We were talking about that, and she goes, "You'll definitely know if you get gastroenteritis if you're going to the bathroom." But she said she'd try it. Yeah. she wouldn't hesitate at all.
Yeah.
What happens is with the guts in it that long. Luckily, it was cold. It was in the teens.
It was cold, but those things don't shed heat
They don't, especially something with mass like that.
Yeah, they don't dissipate the heat.
And it's got this big, thick coat on it.
That's supposed to keep the cold out and the heat in. Yeah.
So the intestines, we were talking last night, your intestines are basically a single cell layer thick. And they've got special junctions in between the cells that make them nice
and scientific on
impermeable, a little bit.
Yeah.
Impermeable. But you want certain things to pass through those cells to absorb stuff and stuff like that. Over time, the animal's dead. That process of keeping the integrity of that intestinal wall it's not being kept up. So then you worry about just getting translocation of bacteria.
Right, stuff on the inside passing through.
Inside the gut of the deer. So
yeah.
But she was like, I'd still try it. And I don't like to waste anything.
Yeah.
We love deer meat, and that's basically our main source of red meat. So, and that's what my wife looks forward to.
Yeah, that's a big thing with your family and my family. Yeah. We do shoot deer. We like to have deer meat.
Yeah.
And we don't like to buy meat.
No. And I don't want to see the deer go to waste. And I wouldn't want to go down. I mean, I would still take it. But I wouldn't want to go down and just have a head left in a rack.
Yeah.
And I want a nice rack for the wall.
Yeah.
But
no, we like the deer.
I don't want the deer to go to waste.
Yeah.
And another part of me was like, if I don't find the deer, do I still hunt? Because I don't want to. Yeah. I've already shot one big buck. I don't want to go shoot another one. Then there's two that.
Yeah, there's some places I know there's outfitters in Alaska. You draw blood on an animal,
you're done.
You're done.
Yeah.
You're done hunting. And
I know I was going to commit.
Certainly, that's not the case with Maine, but that would be a personal conviction that that
I know this
person would have
this week and probably next week. Obviously, at that point, it wouldn't be salvageable.
No,
but I was going to spend my hunting days trying to find that deer. I knew it was dead.
Yeah, we were very fortunate to find it.
Yeah,
we were very fortunate, and that was the third day.
Yeah,
Wednesday you shot it, and then Thursday we looked, and this was Friday morning that I found it and stuff. So it was 3 days, and we were paid off. Rewarded for our diligence and looking for it.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that was.
Yeah, you got to go register it now.
Yeah, I can get some. I don't have any pictures of it really.
Yeah,
I gotta get out and
take some pictures.
Get some more video footage of that. I can tell the same story again.
Yeah.
And it's people were coming in. Did you see any deer Wednesday? They'll be like, yeah, I saw a few.
Yeah, you didn't tell them at that time. You didn't spill the beans.
You don't want to have to try to explain.
Yeah, it's raining out right now.
Yeah, I know. You don't want to have to try to explain to someone
that you wounded a deer.
Yeah. And to me, it wasn't like I wounded it, because I'm like, I hit the deer hard.
Yeah, it was like, when I saw
hit the deer.
When I
don't know what else I would have aimed at. I mean, it just
came right out through the middle of the chest.
Jeez.
Came right out through the middle of the chest.
I personally, I like the scapula, their shoulder blade. Yeah. There's a plexus of nerves, a nerve network called the brachial plexus.
Yeah.
And if you hit that,
they'll drop.
It shocks the deer.
Yeah, they'll drop.
That's it.
Yeah. The only problem with that is the shoulders are a mess.
It messes things up.
Yeah.
But I don't mind. It saves this from happening.
Right.
I mess a little bit up. All right. I don't have to go searching for the deer or having animals find it before I find it.
Yeah.
And I'll deal with a little bit of.
Yeah.
But that shot, I don't know. When you sent me the picture, I see the exit, and I'm like,
that great big hole coming out.
Where the heck?
Why isn't that deer laying there where you shot him?
I know.
I thought the same thing, Paul. I don't know where else you could have.
Yeah, obviously
hit the deer.
Yeah.
It just was. It had to be the perfect spot that it missed the majority of what it but you did hit the lungs.
Oh yeah, one lung was
and
like I said, I don't know how, because his diaphragm was busted open.
Yeah.
And his left lung was, and then
that
explains the blood spraying out the left hand side.
You had told me that when you were tracking it. You said, excuse me, that you were certain that you took out one lung because you said there's blood when he's running, spraying out the side of the deer.
And I knew it was his left side. I knew it had to be a good shot because his track on his left side.
You shot at the right, and you did tell me that. Blood. You said it was a pass through because I shot at the right side of the deer. The right side was facing me, and the blood is coming out the left side.
Yeah.
So you told me that on the phone. That you said that. I know it would pass through. The bullet passed through.
Racking my brain the whole time, going, how is this thing still going? Yeah. His bed, the whole left side of his bed would be just
one tough animal.
Holy cow!
One tough animal.
Yeah, because you were joking last night. What would you do if you were shot
through in that area?
In the left lung, and
you'd be laying there right where you were
moving anywhere.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Would tap out.
And he was as healthy as he was. Like I say, he was in his best shape that he was ever going to be, and he hadn't. Yeah. If you that same shot, maybe the end of November, he'd been more tired.
More now. Yeah.
And
maybe been a different story.
It would have been but he hadn't rutted or he hadn't spent a lot of energy on anything else other than preparing for the rut.
Yep.
Storing up energy. So yeah. But
it was
he's on the game.
He is. And that's all that matters, I guess, now.
Yeah.
So where's the rain coming from? Son of a gun.
From the heavens.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
Yeah.
I guess that's enough. We're going to mull that over for quite a while. I am, anyway. how that deer went that far.
Yeah, now you got another entire year to wait for.
I know.
You gotta wait another entire year.
Well, this wasn't over just like that. It was
a couple days. I get to enjoy the
rest of November.
Yeah,
I'll do it vicariously through you.
Yeah,
I'll get a picture of you shooting a big buck.
Yeah,
video of you shooting it.
Yeah, right from the truck, right on the road.
Lord. No,
right on the road.
No,
there. Yeah,
you'll shoot it down some muck hole and then have me drag it out.
We'll see what happens. I'll have fun regardless. This made the season anyway.
That was
you
good.
know, these are the memories and stuff that. My goodness, I can see you sitting here. I'll be out at Riverside, and you'll be sitting here with Bo telling him these stories that you and I. Yeah,
buck that almost
I'll
got
be
away.
6 feet under at Riverside Cemetery there, and you'll be telling Bo and maybe Bo's kids the stories of hopefully right here.
The ravens that ate my buck.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I think there was probably a fox in there too, huh?
After I found the deer and I headed back towards the truck, I was going right up the skid trail, Paul, towards the truck, and there was, and I thought, well, is that a kite? But I think it was too small.
There. Anyway,
I know you got a lot to do, and
no, I would have been out hunting today, so
yeah,
I got a little extra time finally.
Yeah, but you got work to do as far as taking care of your buck and stuff, and so I'll give you a hand with that but I do have to go visit the family. I got family up from downstate Massachusetts and stuff. I got to.
So I guess we'll be back at it again pretty soon.
Yeah, probably with me. Probably Monday.
I may come up middle of this week. I'm off Wednesday.
Yeah, like I say, you got a family to take care of. So.
I'm up Wednesday, especially if there's snow.
Yeah.
So I guess it just about covers it.
Raining pretty good.
It is. You just got it out. Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I guess that's it.
Yep.
So until next time, get outside.
It's good for the soul.
See ya.